Hi, I'm Todd Wente, and this is the Daily 180. 180 seconds of motivation and inspiration intended to help you take action and improve your life. This is episode 235 of the Daily 180, and today I want to talk about the blessing of an air bubble. All right, now that sounds probably a little bit strange. Air bubbles, normally when we talk about air bubbles, we're underwater. Air bubbles underwater are not always necessarily a good thing. I mean, depending on where you're at, what's going on, air bubbles could mean you're drowning. Air bubbles could mean that you are over a vent that is putting off stinky air and stinky smells into the water, and air bubbles could mean that you are in a place where something bad is about to happen, depending on where you're at. Well, I'm not talking about being submerged in water and having an air bubble. I'm talking about an air bubble in a radiator. Now, those of you who are familiar with radiators, how they work, and are hearing me talk about the idea of an air bubble, you may also be saying, Todd, there is no good thing about an air bubble in a radiator. That is not a blessing. Well, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Let me tell you my perspective. A couple of days ago, I was having some problems with my car. My heater was not working very well. I'd had some problems with the radiator earlier. I'd had some work done on it. One thing led to another, and I got to a point where I said, I need to have this looked at again. I took it into a mechanic, and the mechanic looked at me and said, well, it sounds like you've got an air bubble in your radiator. I said, thank you. What does that mean? I mean, I've worked on cars a little bit, but I've never heard of an air bubble in the radiator. And he said, well, sometimes the air bubble gets in there, and it causes things to not work quite so well. In that period of time, one of the things that was happening with my radiator is there was a little bit too much pressure because the water wasn't circulating as well as it should through the heater, or through the cooling area, the heater core, and through the radiator. And so as a result, I wasn't getting heat into the cabin of my car. I wasn't getting good flow through the engine, through the cooling area, so my engine heat was spiking, and my radiator had started to spring a small leak. As a result of this air bubble popping up into the situation, we were able to identify that there was a blockage in the heater core that maybe needed to be taken a look at, and that there was, in fact, a small crack in the radiator that needed to be replaced, and that if we replaced it earlier, it would probably not be as catastrophic if we replace it later. In my case, the blessing of the air bubble was that we found a couple of smaller problems, while they were small, that allowed us to be able to fix them before they became major catastrophes. A lot of times in our lives, it seems like we are confronted with some problems, some difficulties, some difficult situations that pop up out of the middle of nowhere. And we find ourselves saying, oh my goodness, this is a horrible thing. But in the grand scheme of things, sometimes finding them early while they're small gives us an opportunity to take action to correct situations before they become catastrophic. As you're looking at your life today and you come across problems, difficulties, obstacles, ask yourself if this might be an air bubble situation, giving you a chance to take corrective action before catastrophe hits. My name is Todd Wente. This has been the Daily 180. If you like what we're doing here, give us a thumbs up, give us a share. We'd love to have you subscribe and join us for the rest of the journey. In the meantime, go forth and conquer. We'll see you next time.